Well, this is it, Mick. The Monument Fishery near Shifnal. Our quest for big fish continues. It's brought us out here to the Shropshire countryside yet again, and we're going to be fishing a place that belongs to a good friend of mine. What do you think?
Well, it's a fabulous location, isn't it? It looks to me as though this has been man-made, I would say.
Yep. It's the first of its kind, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, there is an insatiable demand for carp fishing in this country, especially for catching big carp. This is the first tailor-made big carp water with open public access. So anyone who's prepared to pay their money is going to be able to come here.
It's just catering for the needs of the modern angler, isn't it? The ordinary man can catch the fish of his dreams without joining an expensive syndicate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one just jumped there. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah.
See the rings?
I did, yeah. That's a nice fish.
Yeah, it is.
You're getting excited, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Let's...
I'm not.
Let's go and get our gear.
I'm not getting excited.
Considering this is a short session, we've got some bait. How are you getting on?
I think we might have to come back for a bit. So much for short sessions, eh?
So carp, well, the record currently is £61 7 ounces caught by Lee Jackson from Collingbrook, and there's an even bigger fish currently under consideration. But you know, the most famous carp ever caught was one caught in 1952 by a guy called Richard Walker. It weighed over 44 pounds and it was caught from Redmire Pool in Wales. Now that was a very significant fish because up until that point all big fish had been caught largely by accident, but Walker proved that big fish could be caught by design, and the capture of a fish that was known as Clarissa literally rocked the angling world. Now you might be wondering where I am. Well, actually I'm in the Natural History Museum in London. I've got Oliver Crimmen with me. Oliver's the fish curator here. He's also on the BRFC, which is the Record Fish Committee, and you've got a rather interesting relic for us, haven't you?
Yes, these are the pharyngeal teeth, the throat teeth of Richard Walker's famous fish, Clarissa.
Fantastic, Oliver. Well, that is probably the most famous set of dentures in fishing history. Clarissa was the fish that rocked the angling world. She weighed 44 pounds, and significantly, all these years later, a carp of that size is still a very, very big fish. Let's just hope that me and Mick Brown can catch something approaching that weight. So I've got with me now Rob Hales. Now Rob, I've fished your carp syndicates for a number of years. It's always been fantastic, but this is probably your most ambitious scheme yet, I guess. I mean, what's it all about?
Well, it's about a dream really, Matt, and it's the opportunity I want to give to everybody, experienced anglers or otherwise, to come to the monument, experience the chance of catching a really big carp.
So anyone can come here?
Anybody can come. They phone up, they book on, and they could even end up fishing next to you.
Yeah, well, when your anglers do arrive, perhaps you could give us some idea of what they're likely to catch from.
Well, we've definitely got, Mick, over 120s. We've got 13 different 30s, and we've got the 3 40s, which we remove from Acton Burnell.
You've actually created features in this lake, haven't you?
I have indeed, yeah. I mean, that's the most important thing about the monument. That's what gives it its point of difference. There are loads of substantial features underwater. And the one area I'm going to suggest you fish today is an area where there are 5 huge egg crate mounds sticking up off the bottom, a bit like the bottom of an egg box, but they're 3 or 4 feet off the bottom, and the fish congregate around these all the time. And where I propose Mick fish is a little bit further down from you, where there are like 3 bars in a line, and the fish, you know, are all in and around these bars. So the main thing is to learn the water, know where the features are, and they're invariably only 40 yards from the bank.
Now, talking about features and things, you've kept me waiting far too long, Rob Hales. I'm absolutely gagging here. I'm like a rat up a drain pipe.
Well, come on, let's go and get your rods and see what we can catch.
That's a good idea. That's the best idea I've heard today. Tell you what, though, you've been in this place for a few years. Yeah, we need to make a few bags up, I think.
All right.
Put a bit of smell in the water. Yeah.
I'll get rigged up then and we'll make a plan.
OK, mate. Well, what I'm doing at the moment is a thing we call leading around. Something that you often do when you get to a new swim. You want to find where the features are on the bottom. There's no clue on the surface. So the idea is to cast out a lead, and if you pull up over a bar or a hump, it starts to lock up and you'll feel it bounce up the slope and then drop back down the other side. So it's just a quick fix really on where some of these interesting features might be. Fish are just like people really, they congregate around things of interest. So I'm trying to find those places now. You see how the rod tip's locked up? It's gone solid all of a sudden. That's because it's hit the base of a mound or a slope. I'm going to drag it up and then it should drop clear over the other side, which is just done, I think. Well, it's fairly clear over on the left-hand side of the swim. It's coming back really smoothly. So I've now got feature lined up with a couple of trees on the far bank. I can feel the lead dragging up the clay slope. There's nothing on the left, nothing on the right. So I've identified the features. I can use the line clip on the reel initially to drop the lead on the mark. That's great.
I'm getting really excited making these rigs up. I just can't wait to cast in. I noticed Matt's been using his feature finding lead and he's been looking for the features in front of him, and I think that's a good idea in principle, but my feeling is on this water that the fish aren't really going to be on the features at the moment. I think wherever you put the food, the carp are going to go straight onto it. That's my feeling. Let's just see who catches first, me or Matt.
I don't think there's any point in doing anything too sophisticated for these carp, so I'm going to keep things fairly simple. I've got a TFG carp safety leader on here, which will stop the rig tangling up. It'll also help to pin the line down behind the lead. I've got a 3-ounce lead safety clip type system. The important part really is the hook. I've got a simple knotless knot arrangement, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fish with 2 boilies on a hair. And because Rob reckons that these fish feed largely by smell at the moment because the water's coloured, I've got some paste here. So I'm going to put paste around the boilies to increase the smell rate. Basically the paste breaks down in the water and it releases flavour very quickly, so it makes the bait very smelly, and it's something I do a lot when I'm short session fishing, so I'm hoping that'll be a real edge. And then I'm going to attach a PVA bag to the rig, which is full of the pellets that Rob uses to supplement the feed for the fish in here. There's a few boilies in there, and hopefully that will pull the fish into the bait. So nothing particularly sophisticated, but thought out, I think. So what I'm going to do now is to mould the paste around the boilies, and it's pretty simple. You just flatten it and then push the boilies into the paste, moulding it into a pear shape. That is an irresistible carp bait. Well, as you can see, this is a pretty big bag. This is a dissolving PVA bag. It's not the most aerodynamic thing I've ever tried to cast, but I want to give them plenty of bait, so it might be ugly, but let's just hope it does the job. Just one tip, I've punctured the bag to make sure it sinks, because that's very important. If you just swing this thing out...
Only perfect.
That'll do.
Right, it's up to the carp now. Well, a slight change of tactic. The bait I brought with me just doesn't seem to be working. But I've got some of the bait now that they've been feeding these carp with, and I've been trying that. But rather than just casting to the one place where I've been feeding, I've been casting around different spots, and I've just had a little bit of response on this one rod. I think something's sniffing around the bag at the moment. It might be on, so I'm just going to check it. And it's not. False alarm. Just put another bag on and try again. Just hook into the bag, twist it round, hook again. Well, I've got to get that out fairly quick because that's going to melt from the dampness of the hook. Missed it. How did I miss that one? I was just thinking of recasting and off it went and I missed it. Oh, I've got one at last. I've been casting the bag round various parts of the swim, and eventually I've found one. I think it's only a small one actually. It's unless it's coming to me at high speed, that's probably more like it. Oh, it's feeling bigger all the time actually. Oh no, I just had a bleep on the other rod after all this time. Hey Matt, how'd you like to give us a hand with the net? There's a good chap. Well, I've got it right into the margin now, and it's just plodding around like a big heavy weight. Can't actually see because the water's very, very coloured.
Well done, mate.
I've just been casting the bag around different parts of the swim, Matt, and that one hadn't been out very long.
Hadn't it?
No.
Yeah, I've just put some bait in down the margins, actually.
Yeah.
I think if you can drop it on them, Mick, they'll just take it, won't they?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Right, I think he's tiring out a bit now, Matt. I'll bring him your way.
It's not a bad carp, Mick.
No. Here she comes.
Gotcha.
Right, we've got the mat ready. Put her on the mat, Matt. It's a lovely fish, isn't it?
Yeah, very pale, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, oh, yes.
Beautiful, though, there you go. Now the moment.
Oh, well, look at that. There's the hook.
You can always tell when a carp's never been caught before because there's a little curtain just underneath the top lip of soft flesh, and that shows that fish has never been caught before.
Right, should we just take a look at her before we slip her back?
Yeah, lovely fish, Mick.
Oh, look at that. You'll know that one again. Look at the dorsal fin on that one. Oh, the lack of a dorsal fin. It's a lovely, great fat fish, isn't it?
Well, that isn't far off £20, Mick.
No. Well, let's slip her back because we don't want her out the water for too long. Let's make sure all the fins are straight. Because the lake's newly excavated, the mud's very, very soft, and at the moment it's quite difficult to get the fish back into the water. But there she goes. Have a look at these.
Well, it's absolutely crazy, isn't it? We don't get a bite for a couple of hours, and then all of a sudden we get a bite within 5 minutes of each other. It's quite interesting that my lead's discharged itself from the clip. It's one of the safety features built into some of the modern ledgering devices you can buy for carp fishing. Basically where the lead will come out under moderate pressure, and that means that if fish picks up your bait, it's not going to have to tow the lead around. Well, it's not a massive fish, this one, but it's a scrapper, and it's pale as well, like the one that Mick caught. And that's really down to the colour of the water. Well, here she comes, my first monument carp, and who knows, any one of the fish in this lake could grow on to become a real monster. Come on. Here she comes. Gotcha. Well, there you go. Look at this fish. It's what I meant about the safety side of the rig. Everything clears off this weighted leader here. I like these fish with an elongated narrow head but big shoulders behind. And there it is. Really distinctive colour there. Pale, creamy coloured fish. Very unusual. This of course is a mirror carp. Lovely looking fish. And who knows, in 10 years time you might see this one staring back at you from Angling Times or one of the other papers, and it might weigh 50 pounds. Well, we made a decent start. We caught a couple of fish fairly early on, but then it went really quiet on us. Saw some fish over here and we thought, well, you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. Let's get over that side of the lake. And you know, we figure that even though we've only got a few hours to catch the fish, maybe tactically we've got it slightly wrong, because we've been fishing with PVA bags, very light baiting. And to be honest with you, it's not really working. Now, when they're fed here, they're fed large amounts. So we figured, well, why don't we go for it? So we've come over here, we've put out a marker float in between our two swims, and we're both fishing one rod each onto a big patch of bait. The bait we're using is this stuff here. Now, these boilies are M1 boilies. It's the bait that's been fed into the monument and will continue to be fed in. It's got quite a savoury sort of smell with a bit of a spicy back note. I know it's got very high quality ingredients in it. The other thing is they're quite strong smelling baits, which means that the fish will find them in this coloured water. So we've put quite a big bed of M1 out. But anyway, I'm still bagging because I think it's nice to be able to put a pile of food down to really grab the fish's attention. And if anything, I've switched to even larger bags, and I've got a system here that you might find interesting. I came across the other day, and I think it's really good when you're fishing with large solid PVA bags, and I'll show you how it works now. It all revolves around this specially designed lead. The lead has got a recess moulded into its base, so the lead is specifically designed to carry this flexible rubber O-ring here. So if we take a bag out, I'm going to use the solid type of bag, but I mean this will work with the mesh type network bags. It's quite ingenious, this, actually. I wish I'd thought of it myself, but I didn't. There you go. Start off, take the bag. Got here in this container a mixture of some M1 boilies and some pellets. I'm going to start off by crushing up a few boilies, then put a few pellets in. So I've basically filled the bag, let's say, a quarter full. What I'm going to do now is drop the rig into the bag, feed it down, and then when it's near the bottom, I'm going to take the hook and pull it through the skin of the bag like that. There it is. Again, put in a few crushed boilies if you want, some more pellets, and then I'm going to stop about a third of the way up. So there's my bag look. Next stage is to feed the top of the bag through the rubber ring. Then put your lead into the top of the bag and then push the O-ring over the bag and the lead so it all hangs on that recess. And that will withstand a really hefty cast. It's quite impressive, actually. I'll tell you what, if Mick Brown was a carp, that would definitely catch him. Here we go.
I was there, mate. Nice run, that really steamed up. Safely in. And as I look over my shoulder, Matt's into one as well.
Very strange.
I've probably caught the smallest fish in the lake here. And Matt's making a meal of that fish.
Yes.
Bit more, that's it.
This one's like a breeze block.
Well, the runs just go on and on here. I'm not going to say it's a big one this time because I'm always proved wrong. It's probably the second smallest one in the lake. I think we've been quite unfortunate so far to have caught so many fish and not had one of the big ones in here. Well, the line's gone very tight. It's gone behind one of the man-made clay bars out there. But I can feel the line coming through it slowly. Well, it's passed the test so far. I can tell when my arm's aching, it's got a chance of being a decent fish. And I can tell you my arm is aching at the moment. Mind you, I'm getting on a bit as well.
Do you want a hand with it?
I wouldn't mind actually, it's making my arm ache. It could be certainly I think it's a 20 pluser anyway.
Okay.
Knowing my luck, I've hooked it in the end of the tail and it's a 6 pounder.
Oh yeah, it's a beauty.
That's a big fish, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beauty, mate.
It might even be a 30, man.
Yeah, it's a big fish, that is, mate.
Tell you
Take
what.
it steady. That's well over 30, mate. That's 40, I think. Oh, you got it.
Wow,
Oh,
Matt.
yes. That's a big fish, mate.
God, look at the size of
That's
it.
a massive fish.
That is the biggest carp I've ever seen.
That is a monster, mate.
Oh, man.
Put it there, that's a beauty.
You'll have to take over, I'm trembling with excitement.
Well, look,
Oh.
you go and get your scales and the sling, and I'll unhook it for you.
Yeah,
How's
okay,
that?
mate.
Well, I don't want to put a weight on it because it's probably tempting fate, but this fish, I think it's 40 pounds. It's getting up that way. It's a big one. This fish has got a mouth that could literally swallow an orange. I can almost put my hand in there. Here's the curtain of skin here, which tells me that this fish has never been caught. Now, the British carp record is just over 60. Imagine that. Okay, I'm going to roll the fish over.
Oh, that's a lump, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a be very big fish, mate, that'll be the biggest carp you'll catch in this country for a long time, matey.
I am so out of breath.
Do you want me to do it, or...?
Please, mate. My biggest carp is 39 pounds.
Well, it's now 44.
No.
It is, yeah.
That's like winning the lottery. I'm not going to kiss you.
Coincidentally, this fish is the same weight as the fish that Richard Walker caught when he rocked the carp world back in the 1950s. And the carp record stood at just over 44 pounds. And this fish is about 44 pounds too.
Yeah.
It's an absolute monster. Put it there, son.
I am so pleased.
I didn't like to say that it was 40, but I knew it was. I knew it was. Well done.
I'm lost for words for once.
Well, what a result.
Let me just take a look at it. What a fish. I'll probably never catch a carp as big as that ever in my life again. I'm so happy.
Turn it towards me a bit, mate. I'll take one more. Well done, son.
Wow, look at the mouth.
That is a very big carp. 44 pounds.
Look at that.
I think,
gosh.
She's gone.
Matt.
I'm really pleased for you, mate.
Thanks,
Well
Adam.
done. You deserve it, good lad. And that, as they say, is a wrap. Let's go home.
Can you believe it?
Well, our quest for big fish has brought us here to the River Great Ouse. This is Sharnbrook near Bedford. It's a very, very famous stretch of the Great Ouse, and we've come here to this fabulous river to fish for possibly the most difficult target on our list, Mick, and that's barbel. Now, anybody that knows their fishing will realise that this river has been a phenomenon for barbel in the last 10 years, Mick, and it's now producing barbel of unthinkable sizes, up to almost 20 pounds.
Yeah, but you've got to remember, Matt, these fish have been fished for quite extensively, and I'm told that some of these fish are actually approaching 30 years of age, and imagine they've lived through 30 years of flood and drought, and they must be really wise fish, and of course they've been pressured by anglers as well.
I think probably the best thing to do, Mick, actually, is to go for a walk down the river, have a look at one or two swims, decide where we're going to put some bait, and then take it from there. Let's go. Well, I think the main area is just down here, Mick.
Beautiful place to fish, mate.
So you've got one swim here, Mick. To my way of thinking, this is a perfect Ouse barbel swim. You've got a clean gravel area. So barbel, well, the record currently stands at just over £19 6 ounces, caught by a guy called Steve Curtin on the River Great Ouse. Where else? And I've got here with me Nigel Hewlett. Now, Nigel works for the Environment Agency, but also the British Record Fish Committee. So, Nigel, these barbel are getting bigger and bigger. What's going on?
Well, Matt, we're seeing an increasing number of isolated populations of barbel around the country that are nudging ever closer to that £20 mark. In these populations, what we have is a small number of very big fish that are living in habitats that are really good for them, and also getting supplemented by anglers' bait.
So it's a mixture of population, where they live, and bait. But where's it going to go? Where's the next big fish going to come from?
Well, I think in terms of other rivers, it's worth keeping an eye on the Trent and the Severn for the future. But for the moment, I think the real chance of a record is still on the Great Ouse.
And coincidentally, my son, that is exactly where Mick and I are going. And you know, the interesting thing here is that Mick has never caught a barbel from the Great Ouse. Now then, Mick, our challenge is that we've got 48 hours to catch an Ouse barbel, that's all. Sounds easy, but I'll tell you it won't be. However, after talking to my friend Jason Cann, who's fished the Ouse a lot for barbel in recent years, he suggested a tactic that I think really could be worth a try. We've basically got about 100 metres of river here, and we know that we've got 5 swims dotted along that 100 metres.
Yeah.
So the idea is to put a fairly large amount of bait at the head of the run, and hope that the smell of that bait wafting downstream on the current will pull the fish out of the cover.
Yeah.
On the gravel patches in between, which is where we'll probably do most of the fishing, we'll fish over smaller piles of bait on the little gravel patches in between here and where the barb will live. To do that, we've made up 2 bait mixes. Okay, these are more like carp mixes than traditional barbel mixes. This one here, which is the main feed mix, effectively it's the same bait as the other one. They're made up with fish meals, fish meal ground baits, some meaty ground baits, a whole mixture of pellets from tiny mini betaine pellets up to fairly large halibut pellets. One of them is made up with water, which is the one that we're going to ball in at the head of the run. That one is predominantly oil, so it won't melt the PVA bags that we're going to be fishing with.
Oh, that's the way we're going to fish, is it?
Yeah.
PVA bag on the hook.
Yeah. Probably put 3 or 4 balls of this into each swim, that's all.
Yeah.
And then some in the bag. That's perfect. Right, Nick. Let's put this bait in here. We can do it together.
No, a little bit further back.
Yeah.
That's spot on, mate.
Nice work.
Well, remember where we put it, won't you?
Well, it might seem amazing to anybody who's not used to this kind of thing, but we've actually now been here several hours and we haven't even cast in yet. Now, you might be wondering why that is. Well, the answer is we can see into these swims, we can see where we've put the bait, and quite honestly, there's been no fish over them at all. So these are super, super wary fish. We may not even be in the right place, but there's no point in actually starting to fish until we've found some barbel. So I'm spending all my time just literally wandering up and down the bank trying to spot fish, and it's very, very difficult. Just to illustrate how wary the fish here are, a few moments ago I went back up towards the bridge and I found some chub underneath a tree, 2 fish that were literally right underneath my feet, and I had a really good view of them. So I sneaked back to my gear, picked up a pocket full of baits, went back to the tree. Sure enough, the chub are underneath there. I flicked one tiny 10mm boilie in upstream and they both disappeared, and I haven't seen them since. So that's how difficult this place can be. And now I think probably what we're going to do is just keep visiting these swims in rotation, keep looking, keep creeping around the bank, and just hope that the fish will appear in one of the swims. If they don't, we've written a day off.
I can't see anything that remotely looks like a barbel. But that doesn't mean to say there's no barbel there. Without a great deal of light on the water, they are difficult to spot. And they might be just tucked under the weed. I'm going to creep away and get my rod made up.
If you're going to do this sort of thing, it's important to wear the right kit. Now, you might be wondering, why is Matt Hayes dressed like a Pratt? Well, the answer is I like it. But I actually look like this to camouflage my appearance from the fish. They really are that sensitive. This camouflage helps to break up my outline on the bank. And if I move fairly slowly and I keep low so that my silhouette is not projecting right up above the bank onto the skyline, then I can move about undetected by the fish. The other thing that you must do is wear some polarizing glasses, because they cut out the surface glare and help you to see down into the water and onto the gravel where the barbel are moving around. So there is a serious purpose to actually having this kit, and it's not the sort of thing you'd want to go clubbing in particularly, but it does help when you're barbel fishing.
Oh, it's a nice little place to sit and sort your tackle out.
Well, this is what we call the witching hour. It's about half an hour before it gets dark, so the light's going fast. We haven't seen a single barbel out on the gravel during the course of the daytime, and I think we've got to hope that under the cover of darkness, any fish that might be tucked up under the cover that have been unwilling to venture out in the daylight will actually come out tonight. Well, it's a different day and we've gone for a change of tactics. The sun's very bright, there's not a cloud in the sky, altogether very, very difficult conditions. And yesterday the heavy baiting approach that we tried didn't work. It was a good experiment and there would be days perhaps when it would work, but it didn't. So today we've gone for a very, very cautious approach, much lighter baiting. Now, this swim's very interesting because I've got a tree overhanging the water in front of me, and underneath it, when I arrived this morning, were a shoal of 20 big chub, 2 of which were just enormous. Certainly far bigger than anything I've ever caught. They were massive. And then underneath them, 2 or 3 really nice barbel, certainly well into double figures. It's an amazing sight. Mick, you've been sitting up there for about 20 minutes just watching the swim for me. What's the score?
Well, it's not so busy down there as it was early on, but I've just seen 2 chub just move onto the end of the raft, so they must be right above your bait at the moment. But Matt, I can't stay here watching you all day. I want to catch a fish myself.
All right, mate.
All right, I'm going to look for a similar swim with cover like this, and I'll catch up with you in about an hour.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a bit longer here.
OK, mate.
And then I'll maybe bait a couple of other spots if nothing's happening.
All right, mate.
This can be a really frustrating business. Well, I'm now going to make a rig refinement. I'm fishing with a bolt rig, a semi-fixed lead, because I can't afford to miss a bite. If I get a bite, I've got to know it's a proper bite, not a line bite. So I'm using a heavy 2.5–3 ounce lead. Boldly going where no man has gone before. I've changed the hook bait for a pellet. It's been soaked from shellfish sensor peel and it absolutely stinks, I'll tell you. Right, now I'm going to get into the water as quietly as I can. Oh, it's quite cold actually. That is cold. Right, now what I've got to do is feed the rod tip under the cover so that the bait lies where the fish are, and they're right underneath, they are. Right, that's gone in. Got a bit of clag around the end of the rod, but that will come off. I don't think I've spooked the fish because I've got lots of weed between me and them. Slacken the line off slightly because I don't want it really stretched tight across the swim. Let's give that a go. I've been periodically putting bait across there. I've got some 10mm boilies, some little halibut pellets here. Hopefully they'll get the barbel rooting around, but one of the things I found with pellets is that it's very easy to overfeed the fish. And I've noticed people that put big beds of bait out, they're not catching. And quite often the reason is there's just too much food there. It's moving. Oh, it's going under the raft. Well, as you can see, folks, I've waited about 6 or 7 hours for a bite, but I've got a barbel on. Oh, it's pulling hard for the other bank, and I'm not messing about here. I've got really strong tackle on. Come on. Not much room for finesse here. Yes! Woo! Well, there you have it, folks. A great ooze barbel. Well, there's no way of knowing how old this fish is. They were stocked here into this part of the ooze in the early 70s. The fishing was then controlled by the Birmingham Anglers Association, and they leased it off to the Vauxhall Angling Club, and between them they arranged the stocking of barbel into the river ooze, and basically they made some top-up stockings to try and get the fish re-established, and in certain areas, and this is one of them, they've been very, very successful. I actually caught this fish on maggots, and they wouldn't pick up any of the large hook baits, they wouldn't pick up even small pellets or pastes, and I fed the swim with maggots for about 2 hours, and eventually a couple of fish came into the swim and got their heads down, and I managed to get a bait in position and well, the results were certainly explosive, weren't they? Anyway, I'm going to pop this fish back. Just going to take it out into the flow a little bit so it gets some oxygen through its gills quickly. And she's ready to swim off. Look at that. Go on, baby. Go. Wait till I tell Brownie.
We're just going into the second evening now, and Matt's had his barbel. Really pleased for him. I didn't see it, but it was a cracking fish, he tells me. I haven't had one. I've been walking up and down this river looking for barbel. I'm just worn out, I just haven't seen one, so I'm fishing blindly now. But I've baited another swim a bit further down. I'm just by Matt in this other swim, and between us we're going to fish together into the darkness, so you never know, might get one down there.
Well, while Mick's been moving swims, I've had a little bit more action in this swim, and I've made what I think is a crucial rig change, which may help me to catch some of these big chub in the swim. I have actually caught a chub, I'll show you in a second, but this is the rig modification I've made. I felt that having a lot of maggots on the hook might be putting the chub off, so what I've done is I've hair rigged a smaller hook to a large hook. Now the large hook is the hooking hook. The smaller hook is only there to hold the bait, which is 2 of these rubber casters. I've also put a little bit of foam onto the bigger hook to counteract its weight, so when a chub sucks in the 2 rubber casters, the big hook is weightless and it will fly in behind. And it's worked really well. Within 5 minutes of trying it out, I'd got a chub actually on the bank, so that's marvellous. I'll show you the chub that I've caught. It's probably on the small side, I think, for some of the fish in the swim. As I said before, there are some absolute donkeys in here. It's a lovely chub, and it's certainly a specimen size fish. Absolutely beautiful looking thing. Certainly over 4 pounds anyway. Nice chub. But I think that's one of the small ones. Typical ooze chub, nice deep fish. Very brassy sort of golden scales at this time of year because they're swimming around in clear water, and they develop this quite bright, colourful hue. They're very difficult to catch though. They won't accept big bunches of maggots. They'll take maggots, but smaller baits are what they want. Now I'm going to put this fish back upstream because I don't want to spook the others in the swim. You might be wondering, why have I got my chest waders on now? And the answer is I don't want to get cold later on. And then the thought occurred to me, well, why didn't I put them on before?
Easily sum up last night's effort. It was a disaster. We fished quite late actually, almost till midnight, and we never had a pulley. But it's a new day, and we came down this morning and it was really, really misty, and the sun's now burnt it away, and it's looking like it's going to be quite a nice day, I think. I'm in a new swim now, and I'm a lot more confident. Yesterday I didn't really feel I'd got anything to work with. I couldn't see fish, but Matt did see a barbel in this swim and some nice chub as well. So I'm fairly confident I've got some sort of a chance. Well, I'm going to give it another 10 minutes and then I'm just going to cast in and just sit back and wait. That's all you can do, really. Barbel love pellets, and to attract them I'm going to be using these small pellets to get them into the swim, but on the hook I'm going to use one of these real big ones. Now, one thing you'll notice is that the pellet is rock hard, so how do we put it on the hook? There's no way that's going to go on the hook without a little modification. Well, that's pretty simple, really. Take one pellet and take a little drill and simply drill a hole in the pellet. Just do it by hand, twist in, get a nice hole through it. And now, with a hair rig, the hair will pass through the hole and I can put a little rig stop through the end, and that'll retain it on the hair. That's one ready rigged up. You can see there's the hair coming off the hook. It passes through the hole in the pellet, and there's the little rig stop at the end. Something nibbling away at this. I can tell you that the rod keeps bouncing away. Oh, I'm into a good one here. Yeah, Matt, I'm into a good one here, mate. Just trying to keep him in the open water. Get a bit of line back if I can. Oh, I nearly pulled the rod in. Matt, this is such a powerful fish. God, that's so powerful.
I'm in position, Mick.
Oh, you see it yet?
Yeah, I can see it. Keep her coming, mate.
He's trying to get into that snag.
See if you can bring him downstream, Mick. I can't really move the net very far, Mick.
Oh, it's coming to you, mate.
Okay.
Right, I'm bringing him up now.
Okay.
Hang on, mate, let's shorten my line. Oh, it's a good barbel, this.
It's a lovely fish, Mick. Come on, keep it coming. Keep it coming.
It's on the rim of the net.
Keep it coming. Can't lift yet.
We've done it!
Is that your first barbel out the ooze?
Yeah, I'm so pleased.
Well done. Oh. You got it?
Yeah, I've got it. Okay.
Oh.
Well, have you got any scales handy, Matt?
Yeah, I'll get you some.
Right.
Beautiful, Mick. Well done.
Well, after trying all sorts of different rigs and tackles and baits, I've just gone back to my good old favourite running ledger rig. Nothing fancy. Something I've been doing ever since I was a kid. Well, there's the rig, there's the salmon pellet still on there, little tiny size 10 hook. And there it is, the fish I've been waiting for, old Whiskers. Oh, and it's a absolutely solid specimen, look at that. I don't get many chances to go barbel fishing, so I'm absolutely thrilled at this. It's a beautiful fish, caught on a beautiful summer's day. What more could you ask for? Well, this show's all about record fish, and as I've said on other occasions, it's not just national records, but personal records count too. And my best barbel at the moment was £8.12, and if I've beaten this now, then that's what record busting's all about, breaking your own limits. Come on, Matt.
I've zeroed the scales for you. Pop it in there. I can tell you you've beaten your personal best by quite a long way there, mate. I told you you'd get one here. Now, what do you think it weighed?
Well, I reckon I've beaten my personal best, but not by a lot. 9.25, I'd say.
11.1.
No. 11.1?
It's just £11 1 ounce.
Crikey.
I thought you'd underdone it a bit there, boy.
11.1.
Well done, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate.
That's
I'm
fabulous.
so pleased. Well, this is the way you want to return a barbel, while it's still really fresh and in good condition. What a beautiful fish, I'm just so excited. She's just had a taste of the current and she's off.
Well, there's more big fish to come, hopefully, but I think for the time being, we're pretty well all fished out. You know, this is a fantastic river, and it's very interesting that the contrast in methods that we used. You know, in my swim, I couldn't get a bite on a pellet or a boilie, and yet in Mick's swim, his fish took a pellet. So it just goes to show all those repertoire of methods, knowing all the different techniques and all the different baits, it does pay off in the end.
Yep.
And it really paid off this time, mate. Well done.
Certainly did. Cheers, man. On to the next one, mate.
There you go, mate. Well, our rod race continues, and it's brought us here to Wales, near the town of Usk. This is Langdegford Reservoir, and talk about fishing meccas. This place is absolutely amazing. It first shot to fame in the 1980s when they allowed a series of pike fishing experiments to take place here, and this is the place that first brought to the attention of a whole nation of pike anglers the potential of trout waters when it comes to pike fishing. And Mick, it was revolutionary, wasn't it? It was amazing.
It had to be. There was 4 40-pounders caught. I mean, nothing's happened like that before, and not since either.
Gareth Edwards came here, the Welsh rugby player. He broke the record first.
Yeah.
And then this place still holds the record now with a fish caught by a guy called Roy Lewis at 46 pounds, 13 ounces. Now that is a mother of a pike. Anyway, let's get on.
Yeah.
We've brought along some help. We've got a guy here called Dave Kelbrick. Mick and I have known him for a few years, and Dave has done quite a lot of fishing on Langdegfed recently, so he knows the water really well, and that'll be good actually, because the fish will be fairly localised, and a bit of expert help won't go amiss. But we'll get the boat loaded first, and then we'll have a chat to Dave. There you go.
Dave knows a lot about this water, and he's had fish over 30 pound from there.
Nearly there,
Mate,
mate.
the boat's sinking, mate.
Piddling bucket.
There's no room for you, mate.
Right, let's go and have a chat with Dave then. So, pike, well, the record currently stands at £46.13 ounces to a fish caught in 1992 from Langdegfed Reservoir in Wales. Now, I'm here at the Natural History Museum in London. I've got with me Nigel Hewlett. Nigel works for the Environment Agency and the British Record Fish Committee. Nigel, if you look back in history, there are fantastic stories about these monster pike that stir everyone's imagination. Do you believe them?
No, frankly, but in terms of getting really big pike, I think there's two major factors that really count. One is they need lots of food and plenty of good nutrient, and the second is neglect. They need a limited amount of angling or leaving alone, which is probably where a lot of these legends generate from, the mystery of where these big pike are.
And that really leads us to the trout reservoirs, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Trout reservoirs are a perfect place for big pike. They have lots of food available for them. It's good nutrient value, and actually access to pike fishing is very limited on them. So when people do go, these big fish, like the current record, turn up.
Well, Nigel mentioned the word neglect, and of course the record hasn't been broken since 1992, although things are changing all the time. And you know, if you were going to break the record, what better place to try than the place that's already broken it several times over, Langdegfed Reservoir in Wales. What I like is the contrast between the two boats. There's ours over there and yours, Dave, which actually looks amazingly professional. Well done.
Well, you've got the vintage 1988 boats and I've got the newer model, but
It looks the business, mate.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, how are you, Dave?
Okay, Matt, how are you?
Now,
Good
this
see
to
you, mate.
anybody that
Yeah.
doesn't know, this is Dave, the Urias Kelbrick, and we call him the Urias because up in Chester they don't say areas, they say Urias. And he knows the Urias where all the pike live, don't you, Dave?
Hopefully,
Which
mate.
is why we've got you along here, because we need someone to show us a few spots. So, what do you think of our chances, mate?
I reckon we've got a good chance today, Matt, to be honest. This ripple will help because it is bright, but with a bit of luck we should be into some decent fish. I don't see why not.
Yeah, but I mean the level's down. What it looks about 20 foot down. How's that
Yeah.
going to affect the fishing?
It's actually 18 foot down, and this time last year it was 30 foot down. We had some big bites,
Yeah.
31, so
Yeah.
it shouldn't be too much of a problem, that at all.
You did very well, didn't you?
So, yeah, we did.
Yeah.
What about the algae in the water, Dave?
That again, that doesn't seem to bother them here, and you probably find that a lot of the fish will take subdued coloured lures as well, even
Yeah.
though it's coloured water.
Now, you've done a lot of fishing here on this reservoir, but I was saying earlier on to Mick, I mean, we had trouble sleeping because the excitement to come into this place, does it still get you that way?
Yeah, I still get that buzz when I'm going pike fishing anyway. It's just a bit of excitement there. And you never know what you're going to catch, especially on a water like this that's thrown up British record.
So how would you rate it in comparison to the other places you go to?
I would say that this probably gives you the best chance of a really big pike, maybe 40 pounds or even a British record. So to me, it's number one.
Well, I think against that, we better get going, mate. I can't hang on any
What
longer.
are we waiting for?
Take us to the areas,
Okay,
my boy.
follow me.
Follow that boat. Take me to the areas.
Happy with this cloud. Better than that bright weather.
Hey, Dave. Blue and silver any good on here?
Yeah. Black and silver, all the dull colours to start with.
Yeah. Well, here we are. We're at the far end of the reservoir now. We're in about 23 feet of water. Dave tells us this is a really good area, and I believe, Mick, it was somewhere around here that the record pike came from.
It certainly is. It won't be far from here, and apart from that, it's produced several other 40-pounders. So this water has got the reputation for producing monsters.
Now we're gonna fish with lures because bait fishing is not allowed here. But all of the big fish reputedly have come on lures. I think there's been a bit of skullduggery in the past. But
Well, there's always rumours, you know, amongst pike anglers about what might have happened and what might not have. But not so many years ago, people used to think that lures were a very poor second best, but that's totally changed nowadays. A lot of anglers now know that lures are as good as live baits or dead baits in the right situation.
well, I can't wait, mate. I've got to cast in because this is going to be my first cast into the hallowed waters.
Anyway, I'm going to wish you good luck.
All right, mate.
I hope you get your personal best.
Yeah, so do I. And I hope you get yours as well.
This is the place to do it, I tell you.
Okay, mate. We'll cast together. Isn't it a fantastic feeling, though, that with every turn of the handle,
Yeah,
the bump or the jag that you feel on the line,
yeah,
it could be a monster
yeah.
fish.
I mean, this isn't your everyday pike fishing. This is something very, very special, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Dave saw fish last time, certainly approaching 40 pounds.
Did he really?
When you think they're eating trout, anything from 2 to 6 pounds, it wouldn't take a lot to push them over to the record, would it?
No.
Oh, Matt!
Blimey, that must have been right under the boat.
Right next to the boat, yeah. Oh, it's only a small one.
Well, it's still a pike.
Yeah.
Oh. Doesn't matter, mate. It's a Langdeg-fed pike.
Oh, it's a right tiddler.
Well,
Must be the smallest one in here, I think.
pike is pike. A bit of action on an otherwise dour afternoon, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh,
Has it come off?
hang on.
I'll show you something interesting, though, Mick.
What's that?
Look at the mark round here. A bigger pike's
Yeah.
had a hold of that.
Yeah.
The one that you want to catch has actually been munching on that.
Yeah. So we've caught our first pike. Not a particularly big one, but we're off the mark anyway.
Well, Mick, if that was about 40 pounds bigger,
Yeah.
you'd have broken the record there,
Yeah.
mate. Very coloured, the water,
Yeah.
isn't it? Well, we fished away all afternoon. It's been hard, hasn't it?
It has, yeah. The day's nearly gone
I
already.
know, but that fish just goes to prove you can fish and fish and
Yeah.
fish. And all of a sudden, just you're going to lift your lure out, boom,
Yeah.
and could just as easily be £30 here, mate.
Yeah. But just my luck it wasn't.
Well, indeed,
Never mind, we
indeed.
just keep fishing. You never
mind,
know.
Michael. Can't all be monsters, look.
To be fair, we haven't been at it for too long, and we're not familiar with the water.
And I must admit, the first flush of nervousness has worn off now.
Yeah. Just take a while just to get settled in, doesn't it?
Yeah. Reality is now set in, mate.
Yeah.
These places are hard, aren't they?
They are, but it's like everywhere else. It's about locating the fish and being there when they're feeding. Well, we're having a flurry of fish now. We found a few on this corner here. It's only shallow water. Oh, it's not as big as I thought, but we're getting some action at last. I think this one could be a bit lively. I've brought him in quite quick.
Yeah, mate.
Hang on. As I said, he's a bit lively.
That was an understatement there, Mick. Well, that's a slightly bigger fish, Mick, isn't it? Gotcha.
Got him. Hey. Well, we've got a slightly bigger fish. This one's probably just into double figures. Taking on one of these soft plastic lures. The hook that's caught him is the single. The lure's got a single and a treble. He's just been nicked on the single. There's the lure that caught him. It's supposed to imitate a perch. Let's take a close look at him and get him straight back over the side. Nice looking fish. It's probably around the 10 pound mark. We're still after a big one, but I'm quite happy just to catch fish at the moment because it is quite hard going.
Look at the body shape, Mick. Now, that's a typical trout water fish, isn't it?
Yeah, typical trout water fish. Real big, fat, stocky body. Well, a nice looking pike. He's looking a bit ragged round the tail. I think he possibly might have been caught previously, but I'll give him just a little bit longer. No, it wants to go.
Ah, well done, mate.
Yeah.
They're going the right way anyway.
Yeah, well, we're getting there. Keep going, you never know, we might get a big one. But what we are finding is that the pike are in quite shallow water. We've had a couple of missed fish, and we've had 2 now, and they're taking in this shallow area. It's only about 5 foot deep. And the lures that are being successful at the moment are these soft plastics. And being soft plastic, once they grab them, they feel quite natural and they don't let them go. And they hang on for a bit, just give you time to strike. The only trouble is they do tend to tear a bit, so I'm going to have to repair that one. I'm going to have to get a hot iron and just repair that. But we'll keep going, you never know, we might get a bigger one. It's getting towards that time in the evening now where there's a very good chance of a big fish. I'm going to get bait back in the water and quick. They seem to be in shallow water at the moment, eh?
Yeah, they do, yeah. Strange that, isn't it?
Well, I haven't seen any follows today, have you?
Not at all, no. You know, when your lure keels over on itself,
Yeah.
you know you've wasted a cast.
Yep. But now we've had a couple of hits, I've got a bit of confidence now for this area, so we'll come back in the morning and have another go.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan, actually.
I'm certainly going to carry on till dark. I wouldn't miss this time for anything, would you?
No, it's a good time.
Yeah. We're on our way again, hoping to get our hooks into a mammoth pike. You know, Matt, it's a sobering thought. On 2 occasions, someone has left that jetty there, gone up this lake and caught a record pike.
Well, let's just hope that the really big girls are feeding this morning. We didn't hook into any yesterday, but it could well be that at this time of year the pike are feeding in the morning, the big pike.
Yeah.
We got out late yesterday, we're much earlier today, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Step on the gas.
Yeah, here we go.
Here we go.
Both the horses are pulling as hard as they can. Well, we're all ready, Matt. I've got the net in case we need it, the unhooking mat. All the tools are ready. Scales are in there. Cameras there. Slings there. I'm optimistic, you know. Right, Mr. Anchorman. Yeah.
Do you think it'd be harder with this flat calm today, Mick?
Oh, yeah, it will. It can't be a lot harder anyway, can it? This is classic Langdageford now. Look at the light and everything.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? Okay, Mick. Well, that was a load of old dangleberries, wasn't it?
It was, but that's fishing for you. You can make all the plans you like, but if the fish aren't cooperating, well, that's it.
We got out there early this morning. The conditions seemed all right, actually. But we tried all sorts of different depths. We tried lots of different types of lures. Not a sniff. So we've decided to take a break now. Maybe try and formulate a different action plan. It may just come down to feeding times. It could just be sheer old-fashioned luck, mate.
Well, that's what big fish angling's like, really. When you get the big fish you want, you're really high, but when it doesn't work like today, well, you can get very despondent, and that's the way we are at the moment.
We'll have another go in a bit.
Yeah.
We'll have another go. Well, this is it, boys. Last gas saloon now.
Yeah, it's been pretty hard going, actually, Matt. Harder than I expected, really, but I mean, the only clue we've got so far, I had them 2 fish yesterday, and they were in shallow water, very shallow water. We've tried the deep, we're not getting anything at all, are we?
No. I still think there's fish in the deep water.
Yeah.
Obviously a few fish lying shallow as well,
Yeah.
but like you say, the water temp's been very warm.
Yeah.
I think those fish in the deep water, they just lie in their doggo and
Yeah.
it's on their terms when they're ready to feed.
Yeah.
18 degrees, the water is 12 foot down. Conditions have deteriorated now, haven't they? It's a lovely day,
Yeah.
but that front's blown itself out, and
Yeah.
it's not the best piking weather, this.
No, I stick that out in the deep water. When you're not getting many bites, it's hard to know what to do, isn't it?
It's hard to keep your concentration,
Yeah.
actually. That's the problem. To put some feeling into it.
Yeah. Bites are hard to come by, aren't they?
Not half.
You often get people comment that fishing these trout waters is easy, and I've never found it easy.
I've never found it easy. Not then.
Well, I'm off bottom and I've just felt a little tap, but you never know whether a trout or a perch has a go at it in.
No.
This would be a great show if we were catching fish. Whoa, Matt, I mean...
I know, it's a good fish as well, mate.
This is a good pike.
Great.
It's the third time we've been on this spot today, and this is what you come to Land Egford for. I thought it wasn't going to work, but my heart's absolutely going here. Feels a good heavy fish anyway.
Yeah, it's got a nice bend in your rod, mate. Obviously, it's a good one.
I don't believe this.
It's actually hooked in the back.
I don't believe this. I fell hooked here. I thought it was a good fight.
Oh, that's incredible.
Oh, well.
I thought, Mick, I'll be honest.
Not very big.
It's not a bad fish, mate. It's just that it's not hooked in the right place. Well, I can't get a bite today, Brownie, so it's all down to you, mate, I think. It's a really lively fish. Come here. Right, you hold that bit.
Okay.
I'm going to try and get her another jaw. Gotcha.
Well.
Proper one. What a place to hook it, Mick.
Well, I think it just goes to show that they're not really feeding as we suspected. They're just sunbathing, and I just caught that one on his lounger.
Well, I can't get a bite, and you can't hook them in the right place.
No.
It's a boiling hot day. It's not the best pike fishing conditions, it has to be said. But there's a nice Land Egford pike for you. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Come on then, old girl.
Oh well, on with the show. Well, I've repaired my lure, mate. Got the tail back on. At least we know there are fish lying there, even if they're not feeding. Decides to do the job properly.
Now, if you're going to fish a trout water for pike, you're generally fishing a large, deep reservoir. Of course, there are shallows. There are lots of different lures that will work, and you need to carry a selection with you. Here are a few of the ones that have worked for us in the past. Probably the simplest ones are things like spoons and spinners. Many a big pike fall into these, still continue to do so even to this day, and you can get them in all sorts of different colours and shapes. And then you've got things like jerk baits, largely made of wood and plastic. You get some that float like this one here and only achieve perhaps 2 or 3 feet deep even when you jerk the rod. And you've got others like this one here which go really deep and you can fish down in 20 or even 25 feet. You've got other lures that are kind of a cross in between normal plugs and jerk baits, things like this, that you literally just straight wind in and its tail's beating away behind it. And then you've got the plug, and it'll stay at the depth that you retrieve it at, so you can count it down into medium or deep water and just wind it back in and it will wiggle away quite enticingly. Then you've got plastics, and these have really taken the lure fishing world by storm in the last few years. This one here even looks like a rainbow trout. They're very easy to fish with. You just literally cast them out, let them sink to the bottom and wind them back in, but you do need heavy tackle to fish them on. And then you've got the smaller soft plastics, and it's worth saying that both Mick and myself have caught our biggest trout water fish over 30 pounds on quite small lures. Lures around 4 to 5 inches long, fished on a jig head like this. This is what we call a twin tail. You can get rubber fish as well, which are called shads, but basically they're quite small, soft plastic lures. But just because they're small doesn't mean to say they only catch small fish. In fact, quite often, the smallest pike attack the biggest lures. It's amazing, but that's sometimes the way it works. So you need a good selection of lures, and you also need the right sort of stuff to cast them on. Now, for spinners and spoons, you can use an ordinary fixed spool type outfit. This is a standard spinning rod, between 6.5 and 7 feet long. It's rated for lures between 10 and 40 grams. We've got a fixed spool reel loaded with 30 pounds braid. It's quite a simple outfit and it's perfect for the smaller lures. But if you want to fish the big stuff, then you've got to upgrade your kit. And you're talking about using big, powerful rods like this jerkbait rod. It's 6 feet long. It'll cast lures weighing up to 4 or even 5 ounces. And we fish it with a multiplier reel, an 80 or even 100 pounds braid, simply because of the shock on the cast. If you cast one of these really heavy lures and you get an overrun on your reel, it will crack off like braid. So you need the right kit to do the job. And at the moment, we've got all the gear and no idea.
Whoa. Oh. He wanted that, man.
He did. Hey. Well done, Mick.
He wanted that one.
Oh, he really wanted it. Look at that, it's right down his throat almost.
Right.
It's going to jump.
Right. Wow, he's really swallowed that, mate.
Yeah, super. Well, I can't get a bite today, Mick. I've had one knock.
Well, it's not a big one, but it's another Landegford pike. And it's been pretty hard going, hasn't it, Matt? But
I can't get a bite, mate.
the luck seems to be with me at the moment in terms of catching fish, but of course, Landegford's got a lot more than this to offer. But we'll just keep flogging away at it, and you never know.
Well done, mate. Yeah, I think we'll have a cup of tea.
Yeah, I reckon it's time for a cup of tea, don't you, mate?
Yeah.